Time for my Premier League team of the season, and this is a video where nobody will 100% agree with me, and possibly one or two may even be offended by me picking certain players and having a different opinion to them. However, I enjoy discussing football, so let's do just that. I think there's a few players who were obvious for me, they had to be in my team, but there was also a couple of positions I struggled with. I think it's up for grabs. I think if you took 100 football fans and said to them, who do you think has been the best left back in the Premier League this season? I think you might find you get 8 or 9 different names coming back at you. And the most popular pick would have a maximum of, say, 40%. But that's what's good. Alternative views and debate are healthy. I enjoy it. So get involved in the comment section below. Let me know your Premier League team of the season as well, whilst I crack on with mine. Now, when it comes to the goalkeeping position, I think there's two standouts for me. I'm sure Crystal Palace fans can make a good case for Dean Henderson. Brentford fans will point out that Flecken has been the busiest goalkeeper in the Premier League. Liverpool fans will point out that Alisson is the best goalkeeper in the Premier League. But in terms of having the best season, I think there's two that stand out from the rest for me. David Raya of Arsenal, and then we've got Salah of Nottingham Forest, both obviously shaving the golden glove as well. But that's not necessarily why I picked those out. I think Raya has been fantastic. That save from Ollie Watkins was sensational. But my pick is Salah of Nottingham Forest. I think he's been a big part of the reason that they were in the top 3 for pretty much all of the season. They were in the Champions League right up until the end. And I think he has been called upon throughout the Premier League campaign. Every game I watch, he's pulling out at least one top save. He's been very consistent. He's performed at a high level, but he's done it week in, week out. I think he's been a big part of the reason that Nottingham Forest has had a hugely successful season. So Salah is my first pick and my number 1. Now moving out to right back, I think there's 3 maybe that stand out for me here. We've got Aina of Nottingham Forest, then we've got Timber of Arsenal, and Munoz of Crystal Palace. And I think this is the theme. While I've been doing this, I found that this is the theme with Arsenal, who finished second in the Premier League. I think I've got a few of their players where I haven't picked them, but they're possibly runner-up. And I think that's the case with Timber. I think he's been really good this season, really consistent. Obviously, was injured last season as well. And I did wonder how big an impact that had on Arsenal not having him available. Now I've seen him this season, I feel even more convinced that had he been available last season, you don't know what that might have meant for Arsenal. I think he's had a really good one. Like I said, Aina as well at Nottingham Forest has had a really strong season down that right-hand side. But the pick I'm going to go for is Munoz of Crystal Palace. I think he's been fantastic. Played every game, bar the first one. 4 goals, 5 assists from that right wing-back role. Very important. When Crystal Palace play the way they play with their wing-backs, that role is a very difficult role to do. It's a hard role to master. But I think Munoz has done just that. I think defensively he's really strong. Offensively he's really strong. The energy he's got, the way he reads the game, the way that he impacts the transition of Crystal Palace, who like to counter-attack when possible, he's a key part of that. I think he's had a fantastic season. I think Palace have had a decent enough season in the Premier League. Obviously, they won the FA Cup, but this is the Premier League team this season. But I think he's had a big role in, well, the success of Crystal Palace overall. Moving to the centre-backs, I'm going to go back to Nottingham Forest with Milankovic. Fantastic signing. Him and Murillo are possibly my favourite centre-back partnership. I think Konate and Van Dijk's been really strong. I think Saliba and Gabriel's been really strong. Well, they've been the strongest. But Milankovic and Murillo, I don't know, there's something about them. I think it's just maybe, I don't want to say the little and large thing, but there's something about that partnership. I think it's just got everything that I like in a centre-back pairing. But I do think Milankovic has been the better of the two. Defensively, really good, reads the game really well, also poses a threat offensively as well. That's not why I'd pick a centre-back. I'm not going to pick a centre-back because of that threat he provides at set pieces. However, it's an important role as a centre-back. You know, most of you know I'm a West Ham fan. I was getting a lot of stick for being a Villa fan over the weekend because I was talking about that decision at Old Trafford and people saying, oh, you need to get over it, blah, blah. Anyway, my team, we don't have goal-scoring centre-backs. Our centre-backs are rubbish when it comes to set pieces. You notice it when you don't have it. I think Milankovic has had a really strong season. he's been a big part of Nottingham Forest's success as well. He's going into my team next to Van Dijk. Now, this is where Gabriel's a little bit unlucky, and I think there's quite a lot of centre-backs had a really good season. I think Burns had a really good season. Tarkowski's had a decent season at Everton. You've got both of Bournemouth's centre-back pairings. Howson gets all the plaudits, but I think Zabarni's just had a good a season as him. At Brighton, I think Van Heck's been their best player. So there's been a lot of good performances from centre-backs this season, but I do think Van Dijk feels like he had a bit of a wobbly season last season. But there was a lot of injuries in that Liverpool back four in Klopp's final season. Robertson was injured, Arnold was injured, Kanate was injured, Gomez was injured, Quansah had to play quite often. But this season it felt like you got like the elite Van Dijk back. Now there's been a couple of games where he's looked a little bit ropey, but they're few and far between. He has looked utter class, and I admire the way that Liverpool defend at times where the team can push up and the centre-backs on the halfway line, one-on-one defending against really good strikers in the Premier League. Well, I say that. It feels like maybe the strikers' quality in the Premier League isn't the best it's been, but you can only play against what you've got. I think he's had a fantastic season, Van Dijk, so he's going to go in. And Gabriel was my backup pick, so there's sort of like 4 players in now, and my Arsenal player would have been the second choice for each position, really. Moving to left back. Now, this is the one where I think it's difficult. And actually, it's maybe the strongest position in the Premier League when you look at the individual players. So we're here to run through it. Lewis Skelly's had a fantastic second half of the season. So I'm disregarded him purely because of games played or lack of games played. And even players that you wouldn't consider, like Mitchell of Crystal Palace, for example, he still had a decent season. Williams at Nottingham Forest has had a decent season. You know, Liv Ramento was a right back and then finished as a left back. He's had a good season as well. And then I think Lewis Hall's unlucky he got injured. I think he was the best left back in the league at one point. I think Kirkes had a solid season. Robinson at Fulham's had a fantastic season. Gvardiol, I think, has been Manchester City's best player, whilst a lot of those players haven't lived up to their standards. I think he has. I think he's been superb. Cucurella at Chelsea, last season he was terrible. This season, fantastic, bar 45 minutes of football, but that's because he had the wrong football boots on. But I think he's had a really good season, playing a different role almost every game. Defensively, he's solid. Offensively, he's contributed going forward, and he's almost playing 4 different positions in every single game under Maresca. He's really given Cucurella a role of responsibility, but I think he's performed to a really high standard. Nuri of Wolves, again, another strong season, but would you consider him? Possibly not. I think there's been more good left backs than there have been bad ones. I think this is the trickier position, because whilst I think a lot of them have had good seasons, I think a lot of them have had spells where they perhaps haven't been as great. Take Anthony Robinson, for example. For a couple of games, Silva went to a back 3 and pushed Robinson to left wing back. I don't think it suited him. I think he'd looked almost fatigued at that point. He didn't look great. So I'm going to go for Kirkes, just because I think he edges it slightly over the rest, but I think there's a lot of names you could pick for the left back, and I wouldn't be offended. Now, moving into midfield, I'm going to attack this as a category rather than individual positions, and this is a difficult one. I think there's one player I'm putting in there straight away is Caicedo of Chelsea. I think he's been exceptional, and it'll be interesting to see what Maresca does next season, because whenever Lavia was fit, he'd move Caicedo to right back and he'd play that hybrid role of a right back in midfielder, and Enzo would push up a little bit more. But that's happened few and far between. He's mainly been in that sort of number 6 role next to Fernandes this season, and he's been incredible. I think as a number 6 in the Premier League, he's got everything you want. I think defensively he is superb. So Caicedo's going in there for me. Gavin Birch is the other one that I feel like should go in there. But do I want 2 sort of defensive midfielders, 2 number 6s in my team? Maybe wouldn't make the best 11 overall, but I feel like they both deserve to be in there. Honourable mentions to Declan Rice. I think he's been brilliant. A bit of a slow start, maybe, the first couple of months of the season. I think he had a bit of a slow start, but I do feel like he's really showing his personality when playing for Arsenal recently. I think he's that assist he got against I think it was Brentford at home. Picked the ball up on the edge of his own box and drove to the edge of the opposition box and laid it off and got the assist for it. Fantastic. I think he's had a really good season. I think Tonali at Newcastle's been really good. Bruno's been good as well. I just think Tonali's had maybe the better of the season. I think at Villa Park, I think Yuri Tielemans has been superb. I think he's my player of the season. Maybe I'll do that video. Yeah, I wasn't planning on. Do you know what? I've just came up with a video idea there. Let me write that down. Player of the season. I'm going to do that. Player of the season video. I'm going to do that. One player from every club. Anyway, spoiler. Aston Villa. Yuri Tielemans for me. So I think he's tempting to put in there. But I think I'm going to go for Alexis McAllister. Now, the reason I was a bit wary to not put him in there is because I wonder if I overrate McAllister. Because I think McAllister is underrated and I don't think he gets the plaudits he deserves. It makes me think, well, that means probably you just overrate him rather than everyone else underrating him. You just overrate him. So my midfield three, because it's my team of the season, so it's my opinions, is Gravenberch, Caicedo and Alexis McAllister. That's my midfield trio because simply I think they've been the three best central midfielders in the Premier League this season. Now, please do get involved below. Give me your team of the season, but no arguing, please, because it's just people's opinions and nobody, and when I say nobody, I don't believe any single person has watched every single minute of every single team of every single game this season. So people have watched different games. You might have watched 20 Liverpool games, but the next person has also watched 20 Liverpool games, but they're different. So you might have thought, actually, I haven't seen Gravenberch have a bad game. The next person might have done. It's just been different games. Does that make sense? Anyway, be kind. Right, 3 players left. 2 are easy. First one is obviously Mo Salah, 29 goals, 18 assists. Disgusting return, isn't it? That's filthy. He's just been sensational. Obviously, the last 6-7 weeks, once the league title was done, he just sort of stopped into his goals and assists stopped, and he was desperate to get that one, and he got it at Anfield against Crystal Palace on the last day. But I think Liverpool just stopped before their game against, was it the Chelsea game? They were literally in Dubai, and Slot was in Ibiza. They won the league and stopped, and it doesn't bother me. They've done their job. Don't worry about what everyone else needs you to do. So Salah goes in there. That's the most obvious pick. Player of the season. Isak goes in up front for me. He's also been fantastic. 23 goals for him, 6 assists. I think he's the best striker in the league, ability-wise, but also season-wise. I think he's had a really strong season at St James's Park. Just fantastic player. Now, the last one's a bit difficult because I feel like Mbeumo deserves to be in there. 20 goals at Brentford. Superb. But at right wing, on the right-hand side, in Salah's position, and he's not getting in over Salah. And I've seen pundits do team of the season where he's on the left, and I think, well, would you pick a left back, right back? Would you do that? I mean, some of them probably would have Kirkez left back and Anthony Robertson right back because they don't want to pick a right back, so they squeeze 2 left back. And I'm all for a little bit of small adjustments. So if somebody picked Van Dijk and Gabriel, 2 left-sided centre-backs as the centre-backs, it's not completely offensive to me. But when I see, Mbeumo getting shoehorned in on the left, or seen, which player was it? There was an ex-player did it. Put Chris Wood as striker and Isak as left wing. Now, I appreciate Isak has played out wide previously, right? I'm aware he can do it. But he hasn't done it for Newcastle this season, has he? Let's be completely honest. He is a centre-forward. So I don't want to do that. Now, my pick does involve a bit of tweaking, and that is Matheus Cunha, because Wolves don't play. They play with the back 4, don't they? And I've done it with Munoz. He featured as a wing back, and I'm putting him at right back. So I think that's an acceptable tweak in my mind. So I'm putting Cunha in there. 15 goals and 6 assists for Wolves. I think he's been superb. Now, he's obviously had issues with his, let's just say, attitude, to keep it simple and vague. But saying that, it doesn't take anything away from the season that he's had, and obviously he's going to get his move to Manchester United as well. So there you go. That's my team of the season. Just to recap: Sal's in goal, Munoz, Milankovic, Van Dijk, and Kerkez at the back. In midfield, I've gone Caicedo, Gavin Birch, and Alexis McAllister, with Salah, Isak, and Cunha as my front three. That's it. You don't have to agree. I don't want you to agree. Your answer, the right answer you gave, is your answer. So whatever you think is the team of the season, let me know in the comments below. I'll be back a little later on to catch up with you all and see how we differ and see which players you picked. But anyway, that's it for me. I will be back later on this week, maybe with the player of the season from all 20 clubs in the Premier League. But before you disappear, if you wouldn't mind, do drop a like on the video by clicking the thumbs up. Subscribe if you're new to Tartan or you've enjoyed this video, and I'll catch up with you in a couple of days.